everyone, and welcome back to the Ms.Dria Show, where I'm your host, Ms.Dria, and here I have with me Radamas.
Radamas. What up, big DJ Niche? We see you watching on the check-in. UniverseMiami.com, Ms.Dria Show. DJ Niche, what up?
Okay. Hey, Niche. We miss you over here.
Yeah, I know. I was expecting to see Niche, and, it's going to vibe with him, jam out a little bit. And big up, Niche. Happy New Year, 2016.
Happy New Year. We're waiting for you to come back, Niche. Now, it's a pleasure to have you, Radamas.
Thank you.
I just want to start off
finally being in front of the camera. I've been seeing behind the scenes. You guys are doing an amazing job. It's amazing to see how fast you guys have grown and progressed.
Thank you.
Big up to AD. Big up to Shaq behind the scenes.
Now, for you wondering at home, Radamas is not only one of the top open format DJs in the country or South Florida's favorite DJ, but he's a man behind why we're actually on this couch right now.
Well, I'll say hip-hop DJ, really, but my roots are from New York, born in the Bronx, raised in Queens, and I'm really a hip-hop DJ. But, as you grow in the DJ industry change, you gotta grow and gotta progress. So, a lot of clubs want open format now. So, now I play a little bit of everything. House music, one night I'll sound like a house DJ, EDM. The next night I'll sound like a reggae DJ. Next night I'll be a Latin DJ, reggaeton. And then, but my true roots are hip hop. You catch me at Space, the hip hop room.
That's great. Okay, so now, first off, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I want to thank you for coming out. Thank you. How is everything going on?
Busy.
Busy.
We grind. We grind. We're working. We're trying to make the network grow. Universe Network, Universe Miami. We're expanding. Universe Atlanta, New York, Chicago, Universe LA, Universe DMV. Big up to Cornelius and everybody that's just New York with DJ Homicide, Wu-Tang Clan. Like, just we got an amazing team that's growing.
Exactly. So that's great. Now, you said you were originally from the Bronx.
Mm-hmm. Queens and Bronx.
How long have you been here?
Now I'm gonna start showing my age now.
Oh no.
I've been here about 20 years now. It'll be 20 years in October. So 19 years.
Okay. So
19 years.
What inspired you to start music?
Well, my dad was a Latin jazz pianist.
Okay.
So growing up, we always had a grand piano in the house, and I could play musically by ear. So, just music was always in my family. Okay. Grew up in the church, church every Sunday. My parents, my mom singing in the chorus, gospel chorus. So music is just in the blood. A lot of my family, does music, and then having a piano, my dad playing the organ, and it just, I just kind of gravitated to music.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so you started off as a battle DJ.
Yeah.
And then you spent 4 years producing and hosting in Albany, New York.
Albany, New York. I went to upstate New York for college, got my Bachelor of Arts in Business Communication, Master of Science in Education and Language. But also while I was there, I went into college radio. And college radio in upstate New York is very, very popular. It's just as big as regular stations. So, that's kind of how I developed my on-air personality.
Okay.
It was 90.9 WCDB 442-4242. Call in, get your numbers locked right now. Let's go.
Okay.
So.
And then you came here and you were on 103.5 The Beat.
I was on 103.5 The Beat, the original Beat, with Deion Sanders as a program director, and the original Beat was real raw, and so. And I started DJing a lot of the night. I was doing nightclubs first before 103.5 The Beat. But,
okay.
So as a DJ, you want to try to be well-rounded and not stick to one thing. So I started as a battle DJ, developed my radio personality in college, and of course, doing clubs and parties, and that's how you pay the bills.
Yeah. So okay, what does it mean for you to actually be described as one of the top open format DJs in the country?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of great DJs out there, and there's a lot of DJs that I look up to as well. Kid Capri, I grew up, or Red Alert on Hot 97, or Kiss back in New York, just waiting for that mix and putting my cassette tape in to record the mix. There's so many DJs, as far as radio DJs, then battle DJs like Qbert, who literally invented the crab scratch and all those scratches, or Craze, who's from Miami. He's an amazing. I watched him when he was a young kid doing the DMC battles. So, I look up to different DJs for different parts of DJing that I do. You know what I mean? So, Kid Capri, obviously, with mixtapes and party, it was nothing like seeing Kid Capri or playing with Kid Capri and before computers, we line up crates. I had 7 crates, each about 100 pounds each of vinyl.
Wow.
And Kid Capri would bring like 15. We would always be like, wow. And then he would stack the records up like this and speed mix, boom, throw the record, boom, throw the record,
Wow.
boom. So that, that's inspiring, to see guys like that work, and you learn and you kind of mold and you learn from them, and then you get your own style,
So you've been described, as having the unique ability to host marathon,
Well,
6 to 10 hours.
Yeah, I get that. I learned that from Space. Spaces was just voted one of the number 1 dance clubs of all time by Billboard, top 25, I think it was. When I first started DJing Space, I had an opener, and then I would just DJ just from like 12 o'clock to
Wow.
8, 9 in the morning
Until they close.
Yeah. Until they close.
Wow.
And I just learned how to do marathon sets. And the one thing I take pride in with Space is I don't repeat records.
Okay.
Only if it's a hot record, people are really asking, and they say, "Oh yeah, please play that record." I might play it, but I take great pride in saying I can play 5-6 hours and not repeat
one
5
record.
records. And that's very hard. A lot of DJs today, after an hour they're tired.
Exactly.
After an hour and a half they're tired, or they start repeating records. So, Space has definitely trained me to be a marathon DJ.
That's great. Okay, so you've played for many famous artists such as Madonna, Aerosmith, Justin Timberlake, Diddy, Janet Jackson, and you have one of the longest residencies at Club Space.
Space, I've been there 15 years, or we're starting our 16th year now. So knock on wood. It's again voted top 25 clubs of all time. So. Space has always been about the music and the atmosphere, not about VIP bottle sales or not. I mean, even though we like VIP bottle sales, but it's always been about music, lighting. Louis Puig, who's always about making sure the sound was right, the lighting was right. A lot of people, especially in Miami, a lot of clubs they try to be all pretty and fancy, but they forget about the core essences of the club. What's a club? You want to go there and listen to music?
Exactly.
And so Lewis was always about, making sure the music was right, the sound was right, and the lighting was right. So that's 15 years later, it's still going strong.
Yeah. So Space is a huge club. If you have not been there or seen it ever or heard of it, it's a huge club in Miami. What, around, I don't know if you know the specifics, but the capacity of it?
Probably 2,000 easy.
Wow.
And of course, in downtown Miami, the liquor license is 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So after South Beach closes, everybody comes across the bridge.
Wow.
And I've seen DJs go till 8 o'clock, like the next day on Sunday, after 10 o'clock Sunday night. It's crazy.
Okay. So I have here that one of your greatest accomplishments was when Diddy actually, discovered you in the Liquid room.
Yeah, it was Club Liquid Situation Room. James Cruz, which is Diddy's right-hand man for many years, it was a small room in the back, and it was again back in was just vinyl, playing, and I was the hip hop DJ there, and Liquid was a really famous club before Space opened, before Lived opened. Liquid was that club.
Okay.
And we used to get a lot of celebrities there, and he just heard me spinning, and then the next day it was late afternoon because you tired from DJing all night, and I get a call from James, and James like, Puffy wants you at the arena in an hour. He needs a backup DJ for the concert. I'm like, yeah. So he's like, he loved the way you spin, and ever since then, on occasion they'll call me to do their parties, and he flew me to St. Bart for one New Year's, not this past New Year's, but the one before that. I DJ'd his New Year's party again. It was me and Q-Tip.
Wow.
From Tribe Called Quest, and that was amazing because growing up loving hip hop and listening to Tribe Called Quest, now I'm side by side DJing 4 turntable setup vinyl with Q-Tip at P Diddy's party. It's like kind of surreal, you know what I mean?
That's crazy. So. And I know this New Year's actually just passed. You were at one of the craziest parties on South Beach.
I've been doing that party about 12 years. So if I don't do Diddy's party, Diddy didn't call me this year, but next year. I do the South Beach Ocean Drive, 8th and Ocean at Wet Willie's And if you guys know, Wet Willie's has one of the only upper decks on Ocean Drive. I think there's like 3. There's one in Cleveland. There's one at the Congress Hotel. And there's one at Wet Willie's. And I mean, I tell everybody, if you're gonna do New Year's in Miami, do not bring it in a smoky, dark club. Go out to the beach, especially around the 8th Ocean area. I mean, there's 50,000 people plus out there, and the energy is just amazing.
Wow.
Especially if the weather is good. If
Yeah,
the weather
exactly.
it rained slightly for like 30 seconds, and then it was perfect. And,
Wow.
and you saw some of the pictures.
I
in the
know, and
video.
it was crazy.
It was crazy. Energy, people just feeling I mean, there's nothing like feeling the energy, especially, when you're DJing to that many people and you have kind of crowd control and, Miami, you ready for the new year and all this. All you hear is like a roar, like a stadium.
Wow.
And it's just nothing like it. So next year, you guys in Miami, do not bring in New Year's in a club. Go out to the beach.
That's great. Okay, so not only are you, this big DJ, you're also co-founder of the online television radio network, UNTV, which is, why we're here. Describe a bit in depth for the people watching, who don't fully understand what Universe Network is.
Well, where did I begin? We're going to be here all day. Well, I had been streaming Space live. Obviously, the technology gets better and better. And about 5 years ago, I was streaming Space Live, and people were in a company called Stickcam, and people were watching from all over the world. And they were responding. You could chat with them, and they could request songs. And in real time at Space, I could play their song, and they would watch it from, so I'm like, then the next day, I'm like, I'm going through the television, MTV, VH1, nothing but reality shows. Like, what happened to the basement? What happened to Yo MTV Raps? What happened to DJ? What happened to the videos, the music videos? I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to create my own network of, online, like an online MTV that plays videos and has real DJs and has entertainers and artists, like, because that got lost somewhere.
Yeah, it did.
You know what I mean? So the technology was out there. I had already been doing it. So I was trying to think of a way, to be different, because there's thousands, hundreds of thousands, probably millions of internet, radio, television stations. So I wanted to try to bring it in a different way, kind of be different. So I'm thinking, how can we present this in a way where it's just not going to get lost in the millions of internet stations? So I'm thinking, as a DJ traveling, going across seas, going to Europe, traveling and doing Chicago and doing New Orleans and doing Atlanta, I'm thinking, every city really is its own universe. It's its own world. Music culture in every city is different. Hip hop in Miami is different than hip hop in LA. It's different hip hop in New York. I would go to Chicago, and I would call up my friends in Chicago and be like, "Oh, what's the hot record there? What's popping over there?" Because it's not the same in Miami.
Exactly.
So all these stations just broad stroke everything. They don't, They don't. Everybody forgets that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, now let me create a network that every city is its own universe, so that city can represent their DJs, their entertainers, their local artists. And we started with Universe Miami, and it just started to blow up and started getting 1 million hits a month. And then I started getting calls from, other cities. Oh, how can we get on? That's how we started. Universe New York was the second one. And then Carlito, my partner, he's like, Cool and Dre, Grammy Award winning Cool and Dre, they're interested. They want to do their own online radio station. So we started doing feature channels with Cool and Dre. It's called Epidemic TV, epidemictv.com, which is also under the Universe Network. And then we started doing Terror Squad Radio for Fat Joe, and then it's starting to snowball.
Yeah.
And it's still growing. This year is going to be crazy, and I'm sure you see that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'm looking forward
to it. UNTV. My UNTV. Hold on a second. My UNTV. Check it out. So universenetwork.tv is the hub, but every city still has its own URL, universenewyork.com, universechicago.com,
Yeah.
but it all falls under one hub. So.
Yeah. Okay, so how long exactly have you been doing the network?
4 years.
4 years.
We're starting our 5th year now. So.
5 years.
Starting the 5th year.
Yeah, starting the 5th year, and it's already, this
Yeah,
big.
we broke 10.1 million hits, right, AD? It was something like that last year.
Wow.
We're averaging over 100,000 people using the site on a regular basis. And that's without marketing, SEO.
Yeah,
that's just
of course
pure organic traffic, people talking about it. So when we finally do get that money in, it's gonna be good,
Okay, so as far as the growth of the network, coming into 2016, what are we like looking forward to?
We got a lot of big things happening. We're gonna keep updating the platform so it works better on all phones and all devices. There's a lot of technology is changing so fast. There's a lot of bugs constantly.
Yeah.
We're constantly fixing bugs, and we're now that we have investors and people looking at us and seeing the longevity, because it's about consistency as well. You can do well for a little while, but most startups fail after 2 years and they're done. We're now starting our 5th year and the numbers are still over
Rising.
10 million, and so they're saying, okay, there's something there. So now we're going to try to improve on the platform so it works even faster, the site loads faster, and just really staying true to the vision, which is finding people like you and artists and that really have a voice and they don't have a platform. So we're trying to give them that platform.
Yeah.
So people know what's really going on in that city. My grand vision is when the site's all done and running smooth is people can go UNTV and be like, oh, let me see what's going on live in LA. Oh, let me see what's going on live in Miami. Oh, let me see what's going on live. But those are the people really doing something in that city. Really, because a lot of radio is corporate and it doesn't necessarily represent the true artists in that city. So that we're trying to accomplish that goal.
So I like to personally thank you.
Thank you guys.
Ms.Dria. I would like to thank you because just allowing us to be on this platform, but also creating it so that myself and others can be on the platform. I like to thank you.
I thank you guys too. It's a partnership. It's a team. It's not. We can't do it without each other.
Exactly.
Everybody's got to do it together.
Exactly.
And there's power in numbers, and that's we're showing that.
Exactly.
And UNTV.
Okay. So do you have any new events that you're going to be hosting or any new projects?
Well, you guys can check me out every Tuesday, Blue Martini Brickell. We do a karaoke live singing contest with live band, video mixing. It's pretty cool. Laid back. This Friday, I'm starting Heart in downtown Miami, a hip hop party. And then obviously Saturday at Space. You guys can check me out every Saturday at Space. I'm there all night.
Perfect. Okay, so be sure to download the app. There is a UNTV app. Go to your Google Play Store or go to iTunes and download the app. Radamas, where can we follow you at?
DJ Radamas. Although it's really technically not DJ Radamas, it's just Radamas.
Okay.
But people call me DJ Radamas. So DJ Radamas. That's everything. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I got to shout out my mom. She's always watching, always supporting all the shows. And if it wasn't for my parents supporting, just like your dad supports, like they bought me my first set of turntables. It wasn't the Technique 1200s. It was little plastic 1000s with the rubber band. But, supporting and trusting in God, to show you the path, no matter how hard it gets, to continue and just work and strive, Thank you.
So I like to thank you for coming out. And I like to thank all of you for staying tuned and watching. Radamas, whenever you feel the need to come back to the Ms.Dria show, this is home.
Me and AD, we talk every day.
Yeah, exactly.
We text talk.
Exactly.
But thank you for having me. And
You're
it's
welcome.
amazing to see the growth and the energy.
Thank
Crazy
you so
here.
much.
Like,
Thank
you guys
so much.
don't know, but behind the scenes is like 1 million people and energy's crazy. People networking, Stitches and Ronnie. It's amazing, and that's exactly what we're trying to create. And
that's great.
You're capturing and you're doing it. So
thank you so much. Thank you. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to come back and finish up with the Ms.Dria show. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, Ms.Dria show, UNTV.